But I can talk very loudly.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Now we're going to move to Jonty, which is really exciting. Jonty hails from Taramara United Church.
And I've been told that he looks like a certain handsome MC.
I think it's just the fiery nature.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
And to be honest, everybody who's got a bit of fire in nature is fairly handsome.
Sure. Yeah. Clap.
After Jonty, we'll have Andrew. Okay.
We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Just preparing.
They're ready to introduce me, so I'm going to get straight into it.
have the smooth stylings of Mr. Andrew McLeod. And straight after him we have Mr. Barrow of the David variety, or D-Bar, as I'm hearing. Anyway, Andrew, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
My friend's so sensitive. So this is a song called Waving Through a Window, and it's from a musical called Dear Evan Hansen, and it's about this kid who has severe social anxiety. And there's a thing at the beginning of the show, he's got a broken arm, it's relevant in the song. I feel like that's all you need to know. I gave this to Sally like a week and a half ago. I was like, hey, play this! And it's not very easy. Thanks, Sally.
been there some once. After the next act, we'll have a dancing member with one name coming up, but that'll happen soon. One name.
That's a nice career.
Right now we have David Barrow with The Cry, The Toad and the Slingshot.
Diva.
Now don't.
I write it.
Now don't worry. Louise is at the back. She's going to hold up the fingers for time. So. I want you to think for a moment about the sacrifices that your family have made because of the cost of affordable housing in Sydney. Your parents, your grandparents, your cousins, your friends. I'm going to tell you a few stories from the last 2 weeks of my work, working on a campaign for affordable housing. There was Dora, who was on the streets for 3 weeks because there was not enough affordable housing for young people. Or Mabel, who at 61 was out on the streets because there wasn't any room in the crisis shelter that was shut down by the government. Or Peter, who couldn't get into public housing and had to spend 2 years going from couch to couch to couch at 54, including sleeping in his own granddaughter's bed, one of those little Wiggles car beds. Or Robert, who's 30 years old, who I met in Penrith, who works full-time as an electrical engineer. His wife is a childcare worker, an early childhood educator. Both on full-time incomes, can't afford to live in this city, will be moving to Bathurst. Or my friends Matthew and Beck, who've moved to leave the community of Leichhardt because to live in Sydney would be impossible. Or Abby, who spends 98 minutes to get to work each way, and she's just about to have her penalty rates cut. Or the women that I met who are international students, one of whom was sexually abused because they're in overcrowded units, 6 to 8 people, hotbedding it in our city, fire traps. There are also the stories of the people who did get into affordable housing. Paul, when I asked him, what does at home mean to you? And he said, freedom. Or Paula, for whom has been able to re-stitch her life together because she can afford to live near her work. The government has the power to force developers to include affordable housing in new developments. That windfall gain that is coming in Sydney, it's increasing by 10% a year. When that land is rezoned and you can build a little skyscraper, a little medium density, developers are making squillions, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and the community doesn't see a cent of it. The Toad. The Minister for Planning, Anthony Roberts, is like the fantastic Mr. Toad. He's pompous and wide, and he has a big, thin, long mouth, but he hasn't so fantastic. He is from Lane Cove, he's from this electorate. He lives in a bubble, and his family's from real estate. He went to St. Ignatius College. And he is totally deaf to the cry. The slingshot. As we reflect on our 40th anniversary as Uniting Church, with some sobering numbers in the latest census, we recognise that as a denomination, we may be getting smaller. But it doesn't mean we have to get weaker. We are inspired in our scriptures by the mustard seed, by the 12 disciples in a small room, by the slingshot that took down Goliath. And we as Pilgrim people have walked a long journey on this issue of affordable housing. The Uniting Church has led our churches and agencies, calling on the Greater Sydney Commission, a group of liberal, I don't mean party liberal, I mean liberal in the theological sense, planners who think that they are the experts and are completely detached from the stories that I told you, who have said that, yeah, we'll put in some affordable housing. It's better than nothing. I'll tell you what, it's not much better than nothing. Their plans say that for every 100 units built in new developments, 2 will be affordable. In London, it's 50%. In San Francisco, it's 40%. In New York, it's 30%. But not here. Our reverends and our volunteers, people like Louise, have been going to meet with the minister. And he's had a serious lack of action since our last altercation at Eastwood, just down the road, where we got him to commit to come to another assembly. He said he'd come to the next assembly. He said that he heard us, and he said that he'd bring the Greater Sydney Commission, the people who make these decisions about affordable housing. And so on the 12th of July, you have an opportunity to come and speak truth to power, literally. The minister will be in the room. The CEO of the Greater Sydney Commission will be in the room. And we're going to put some of those stories that I told you on the stage to look them eye to eye and ask them to act. But a full room makes a difference. You can make a difference by your presence, by simply being present as part of the multitude. How do we respond? We are not a shrinking people, afraid of confrontation for a good cause. We are not afraid of speaking truth to power in assembly together. I ask that you brave a cold night on State of Origin night, admittedly. We'll be finished by 8:15. Just kick off. To be part of this second negotiation with the Minister and the Greater Sydney Commission. To be heard strongly and boldly. To represent our generation who's been screwed to the mother-figgin' ceiling. Your friends at the pub will whinge about affordable housing. Or they'll see the articles in the newspaper and the TV and say that's a terrible thing. You now have an opportunity to act and represent what we as the Uniting Church, pilgrim people on a journey, ready to stand up to power, what we can do together. 12th of July, St Mary's Cathedral College, 6 p.m. for a 6:30 start, finished by 8:50. Hope to see you there. Thank you.